as the two strangers began to carry Gummidge across the field. His bowler hat fell off, and the children noticed that the green sprouts of his hair had grown quite a lot since last winter. As soon as the hat had been picked up, his boots came off, and presently a few little shreds of straw, whirling about in the wind, showed that Gummidge's stuffing was getting out of place. Once the scarecrow gave his familiar sheep-like cough, but he made no other sound. "Let's go to the rescue," said Susan suddenly. "We can't let our darling Gummidge just be taken away like that. Suppose we're never able to see him again. Suppose—" "Oh, stop supposing." John tugged himself free from a bramble. "Stop supposing. The only thing we can do is to nip quickly round the outside of this hedge. Then we'll get to the lane, and then we'll be able to follow these men up and see what they're going to do with Gummidge." It was a good plan, but, like many other good plans, it failed. John and Susan ran round the outside of the hedge, and as they ran, their shoes picked up more and more and more heavy soil, until at last they felt as though they were trying to race in a dream. "It's like an awfully bad dream," gasped Susan. "You know how it's like in a dream. Your legs are working, but you scarcely move a bit." "Don't talk," panted John. "We are moving." They had been moving, but Gummidge had been moved far more quickly. When at last they rounded a bend in the lane, they were just in time to see Worzel Gummidge being thrown. Yes, thrown as though he were no more important than a sack of potatoes onto a farm cart. "He will be angry," said Susan. "He'll be furious," said John. "Let's follow and see what's going to happen." But that plan too went all wrong. The wheels of the cart were turning. The shaggy old mare between the shafts was almost hurrying home. Worzel Gummidge's turnipy head was flopping against a pitchfork, and John and Susan were running when Mrs. Bloomsbury Barton stepped out of a side lane and came towards them. She was the very last person in the whole world that they wanted to see. A very fat, wheezy, fluffy little dog was nosing at her high-heeled shoes. "Why, John and Susan, welcome back to Scatterbrook," said Mrs. Bloomsbury Barton, who always wore London clothes even when she was picking her way through country mud. "How well you look! Such rosy cheeks!" And then the children had to shake hands with fingers that had been forced into kid gloves, while they listened to the cobbledy-clob noises made by the old mare's hooves as she hurried through the mud. "How you've grown!" went on Mrs. Bloomsbury Barton. "Really, I should scarcely have known you. Now that you are so much older, I expect you will be very much wiser too." "Yes," said Susan, speaking very quickly, because by now the cart carrying Worzel Gummidge had disappeared round a bend in the lane. "Yes, yes," she jigged from foot to foot. Mrs. Bloomsbury Barton held up a reproving finger. "It never does to boast, dear. Remember, pride goes before a fall. And how has John been getting on at school?" "Quite all right, thank you," said Susan quickly. The reproving finger came up once more. "Let your brother answer for himself, dear." So John answered, though his feet felt almost tickly because he was longing to go pounding down the road after the farm cart, Worzel Gummidge and the two enemies. At last, the children got away from Mrs. Bloomsbury Barton, but by the time they had followed the squelching hoof and wheel marks and had reached the hard main road, there was nothing to tell them whether the cart had turned to the right or left. It had begun to rain hard, and already the road looked all washed and shiny. "I don't think Gummidge will want to be taken away from Scatterbrook," said Susan. "And he generally gets what he wants." "I don't care what Gummidge wants." John tucked his chin inside his coat collar. "But I'd like to keep dry, and I'm going back to Scatterbrook. It looks as if it's going to rain for weeks." As a matter of fact, it did rain for nearly a week. Not quite all the time, though. Sometimes the sun came out for half an hour or so.